Hey everyone, it's Kingsdown Ferrets here. We're going to run through the latest updates in our Ferretry and we're going to answer a few of your questions, so stick around to find out what's happened. Covering the pregnancies first, and the big news this week is obviously that Mushroom has had her babies. Woo! She's had 5 adorable little kits, 1 boy and 4 girls, and both mum and babies are doing excellent. Check out this video if you want to find out more detail on that litter. So we know Mushroom's babies are all doing great, but let's have a quick look at how Mushroom's been getting on, because it's important to make sure that the mum is in good health. So you can see here that her body shape looks good. She's losing a bit of the weight that she has, as is expected. We look at the teats, that they're all looking functional, no infection or issues there. And we have a good check of her nice sparkly eyes. Gums are a good colour. And her behaviour is spot on. So she's been a good, attentive mum. So everything we're looking at with Mushroom looks good. As usual, the mums, they are a lot more anxious and a lot more fidgety when they have kits. Mushroom here was one of our cuddliest and easygoing ferrets, but while she does still want a little cuddle every now and then, she's back on her feet and running around as soon as she can. The babies are all doing fantastic. There's no runts and everyone's put on literally double their weight in the first 3 days. Let's take a closer look at one of the little ones. Nice and vocal as you'd want at this age. Certainly a lot bigger, as you would expect, for a few days. Mum has spotted that we've stolen her. Looking like a bald, wrinkly old man, as they do at this age. Now Mushroom's very much in the mothering stage, and she treats not just her own babies as her babies, but anybody else in the vicinity. This is Binky here, and Mushroom is desperate to get her back. Desperate to get her back to the nest, whether Binky wants to or not. Although Binky does want to get to the nest, she wants to see the babies. She just doesn't want to be dragged there. Because Binky loves the babies and doesn't want to be a baby. Mushroom loves Binky and thinks she is a baby at the moment. So they're all happy if they're all in a nest. But if I take Binky out of the nest, Mushroom goes a bit crazy and tries to drag her back again. Binky takes it the wrong way and they get into a bit of a scuffle. In terms of the other pregnant ladies, we had Binky here and we got Cookie. Unfortunately, it was not to be for Binky and she ended up having no kits. So we noticed that the weight gain, as you can see in the chart, started off strong, but around about halfway through the pregnancy it stopped and levelled off. Now this is either a phantom pregnancy, as we've discussed in other videos, or it was the kits just self-terminated within the mum and they absorbed back into the body. But either way, due date came and unfortunately there's no little Binky kits. Then we have Cookie, and she's looking positive, but again, as you can see from this chart, her weight gain has levelled off from halfway through, so she's following a similar pattern to Binky, and that's not good news. We would expect their weight to continue to grow. We are ever hopeful, and we hope it would not be a second phantom of the season, and hopefully she does have some little wiggly babies inside. She's got another 5 days or so until her due date, and we'll monitor until then, and fingers crossed for Cookie. Elsewhere in the Ferretry, Rumble is continuing his stinkathon, but he's in great mood, great spirits, despite the fact he's not actually being used as a hob this year. No Rumble. But with his winter weight and his in-season chunkiness, he was getting in a bit of a mood with the tubes because, well, let's face it, he was a little bit chunky to go down them. Now, he can fit down these tubes, but if you look at him, it's a bit of a squeeze, although a lot of them is fluff. But some of them, in particular these black ones, have a much thinner internal diameter due to the heavy ridging. And those are the ones he's particularly annoyed with. These clear ones, not too bad. So what we did, instead of a tube going up to his main bedroom and food station, we just introduced a step and ramp system. Much easier and much nicer for him. So that's Rumble's little upgrade and house improvement for this week. But moving on from that, we are planning to replace all of this black tubing that we had installed recently and put in similar ramp and open platform structure for him to potter along without feeling too squished and claustrophobic. Let's move on to this week's questions, and first up we have from Tammy McGregor 6545. How do you clean their teeth from tartar? Well, this is a good point, and I'm no dentist, but I have read about it and I have heard from the vets in terms of what is ideal. Both for ferrets and for cats, it's the same issue. But ultimately they get tartar build-up on their teeth, especially their hind teeth, the big chewy ones at the back, and this can lead to gum disease. So it needs to be kept under control, and this can be done either naturally or it can be done manually by the humans. Now, from what I understand is that if you are going to do it manually with a brush, it really needs to be done daily or at least every other day, otherwise it's pretty much not worth it. What happens is the soft plaque build-up crystallizes into tartar and it becomes rock hard, so you want to be able to remove it whilst it's still in the plaque form. If you are going to brush your teeth, then you need an ultra small toothbrush, and you need to try and get to these back molars back there. But obviously it needs to be quite light, because all you're trying to do is just remove the soft plaque from their back teeth. No heavy scrubbing, because that's just going to worsen the situation. Now, the plaque build-up is a natural process, and it will happen with whatever food you give them. The way it's controlled in the wild is through abrasion, and that being rubbing of the teeth removes that plaque on a daily basis. Foods that humans give them, such as raw minces and soupies and other soft foods, don't have any abrasion and just make it a lot worse. And similarly, biscuits, although you might expect them to have an abrasion effect because they're hard, they don't really, because all that happens is the ferret will bite them and they just snap and they're brittle. So there's no actual rubbing of the side of the teeth, so they don't help either. So what you do need is some natural food which will provide that abrasion technique, which are either very chewy bits of meat or meat on the bone, such as necks and wings, which they will have a hard time chewing and crunching through, and that will perform that abrasion teeth cleaning process for you. Next up, Timoteo Quirty asks, what happens if you're a non-breeder and your ferret gets pregnant? Well, in the UK, there's no real such thing as breeder and non-breeder. In fact, you can't commercially produce ferrets like you do in other countries in the US or Canada, and therefore every ferret is produced by a local private breeder. So the word breeder doesn't really have as much connotations. You can, if you want, get a license from the local authority which says you're a breeder, but that doesn't really mean anything, and nobody does. Josh043 asks, what is a mucus plug? Well, it's pretty much how it sounds. It's a thick bit of mucus which plugs the base of the cervix and prevents infection from getting in the womb when pregnant. Towards the end of the pregnancy, this will be expelled from the body and you will notice a thick gloopy bit of mucus coming out of the ferret. This is a sure sign that pregnancy is about to end and that birthing is about to start. Speaking of mucus, the next question asks, could I please ask how you deal with slugs and any snails as my ferrets go mad for eating them, particularly in the grove? So yes, unfortunately we do have slugs and snails in the grove, and the ferrets do on occasion eat them. And it's an absolute nightmare because it's such a thick, heavy mucus that it gets gunked up in their mouths and it's all over their chins, and it takes me ages to clean it all out with tissues. But it doesn't seem to stop them. They just seem to go for them, and certain ferrets do more than others. But surprisingly, we don't come across that many slugs in the grove, or at least they don't seem to eat that many. It's a relatively uncommon situation, only happens once every couple of weeks or so. So that's a blessing, but other than that, we don't do anything to try and stop them. We just hope that it doesn't happen that often. Well, that's it for this week's update. I hope you found it interesting. Do add your questions in the comments below and we'll answer them in next week's episode. And sorry for the noise in the background, there is building work next door. Do like and subscribe to support the channel, and we will see you next time.